guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Chelsea and I love talking about books. Today's video is going to be the 10 books on my spring TBR. Going to be the 10 books on my spring TBR. What I have tried to do is prioritise the books that are already on my physical TBR. So they may not necessarily be the most spring themed books, but they're books on my TBR that are the most spring-like out of my whole TBR, if that makes sense. And then I do have a few that are either like upcoming releases or I don't yet have them on my physical TBR. So we'll start with the ones that I do have already, that makes sense. And we'll start with one that's probably not necessarily very spring vibes, but it is one that is high on my radar and I want to get read soon. And that one is The Great Alone by Kristen Hannah. The next one in my Kristen Hannah journey. This one is about a man who moves his family to Alaska, and I think they find a community of people that also live in Alaska that sort of teach them like living here is not easy, it's hard, but this is what we do to survive and we do it all together. And I think it's a very small community of people that they find living in Alaska, so it's like a small cast of characters. But I just love an emotional read, and I know that this is going to do that for me. I genuinely haven't read a Kristen Hannah book yet that I haven't just been like, oh my god, this is incredible. I think with Kristen Hannah books, for me at least, I sort of look at the premise and think, oh, I don't know if that's going to be me. But I know that as soon as I pick it up and I get a chapter or two in, I'm not going to be able to put it down. The last one that I read was Four Winds, and I think that was the first one where I was just a bit like, I don't know if I'm going to struggle with this one. And then I picked it up and I picked it up in the evening time, and I genuinely like could not sleep. I was like, no, I need to read as much of this as possible. So we have The Great Alone. I'm excited to get to this one. I just love a very like empowering, impactful read. Now the next ones I think are all just very much spring vibes, whether that means like the cover or the storyline. For me, spring is bright colours, romance, you know, like just fun vibes. So first we have And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I just think this sort of romance to me is spring, and I know that as soon as the weather starts picking up and the sun starts peeking through and everything feels more light and airy, this is a kind of book that I'm going to want to be picking up. So this one is, I think they are both characters from the first book, First Time Caller, and they both work at the radio station, and I think it's sort of the vibes of I would sort of say like workplace rivals to lovers. I think that's the sort of vibe that we're going for, and I love the art on this. Actually incredible. Next we have one of the books that I picked up on my trip to Chicago, and that is The X-Files by Jessica Joyce. This is a second chance romance. So it says, estranged exes must stick close together to save their best friend's wedding after a string of disasters in this swoony and steamy second chance romance. That I didn't realise how much I loved Second Chance until I sort of was looking back on some of my favourite reads, and I was like, oh my god, so many of these are second chance. The biggest one being Happy Place by Emily Henry. This one is also a favourite of Sarah Caroli's, and I trust that girl with my life for book recommendations. I mean, the cover is giving, like, spring. Look. That alone just makes me want to pick it up and read it as soon as possible. All of these books, actually, are the ones that I picked up while I was in Chicago. Because then we have Love Song by Elle Kennedy. Elle Kennedy is just, like, the queen of swoony, fun, exciting romance. And I just think that this is going to be, like, the perfect transitional book into spring. And again, like, just opening this up like that has made me just want to read it now and devour it. This one is Blake Logan and Wyatt Graham, so like kids from the previous series, but I think she said this is just a Briar Universe standalone romance featuring the next gen of off-campus characters where one unforgettable summer changes everything. Elle Kennedy can do no wrong, and I think this will be good because the off-campus series comes out soon, and I feel like it'll be fun to like get back into her world and her writing just before the show comes out. And then finally, the last physical book that I have is The Future Saint by Ashley Winstead. This one is like this one is about like a band that are trying to make it big, and they're like, record executive and a band trying to make it big. I feel like I've just been trying to chase the high of Daisy Jones and the Six from the moment that I read that book, and because I also really loved The Favourites, and I am starting to realise I do like sort of getting to see. I like books that feel like you're getting to see into a piece of like the world that you might not know that much about. So the music industry, the film industry, ice skating. Like I like books that feel real and feel almost like documentary style into that section of the world that you probably wouldn't necessarily know that much about aside from that. So I'm excited to get to those ones. And then the last few that we have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez. I just think that is just a no-brainer. I cannot wait for that. I love everything that Abby Jimenez writes. Then we have The Sun and the Star Maker, which is a romantasy. I've heard that this one is very like whimsical and just very like magical. And I feel like as we go into spring, a lot of like the fantasy reads will change from like the dark gothic romantasies into the more like whimsical, magical, maybe even like fairy tale like retelling vibe. I feel like that is a good way to continue reading fantasy and romantasy, but to also then stay like in the vibe of the season that we're in. Okay, so it says, there was once a village so far north that most considered it the top of the world, and in that village the sun fell in love with her star maker. From the New York Times bestselling author comes a whimsical and sweeping romantic fantasy. Nestled deep in the snowy mountains of the Lost Range, the village of Reverie is a small miracle. Beyond the reach of the sun, Reverie is dependent upon the magic of the mysterious Star Maker. Every morning he trudges across a vast glacier and pulls in sunlight over the peaks, providing the village with the light it needs to survive. Aurora Finch grew up on the tales of the Star Maker's magic, never imagining one day she'd meet him. But on the morning of her wedding, a fateful encounter in the frostbitten woods changes everything. The Star Maker senses a powerful magic within her and demands she come study under his guidance. With her newfound abilities tied to the survival of the village, Aurora is swept away to his ice-covered... My cat is biting me. With her newfound abilities tied to the survival of the village, Aurora is swept away to his ice-covered castle and far from everything she's ever known. I like that. I like that a lot. And the cover just screams spring. The bright colours. Yep. Yep. Okay, and then next on my list I have Dolly All the Time by Annabelle Monaghan, who again is someone that just really writes the most beautiful balance of romance and like giddiness and lightheartedness, but paired so beautifully with a story and a message and like a character journey that means so much more than just someone falling in love. This one is, it says, a hard-working single mum returns to her seaside hometown and stumbles into a fake dating situationship with a wealthy workaholic scion. If they begin by pretending, can they end with something real? Dolly Brick is a woman you can rely on. She's never met a problem she can't solve. Not when her mum left when she was 10, and not at 39 when she returned to her hometown of Whitfield, Rhode Island, to help her dad and brother from losing the family home. So when she sees Stuart Whitfield, annoyingly handsome scion of the Whitfield family, with a flat tyre and at the wrong end of a very public, very humiliating breakup, it's in her nature to help. But what Stuart asks of Dolly ends up being more than either of them bargained for. As public dinners and high society benefits turn into sunset boat rides and kisses that give her butterflies, Dolly starts to feel something more than helpful. She's never relied on anyone besides herself. Can she really start now? Yeah, this is going to be so good. I love fake dating. I love her writing style like this. This doesn't come out until the 26th of May, but like I'm sat and I am ready. I'm so excited. Looking at my list, I have one more physical book. Sorry. We have Sally Rooney, Beautiful World, Where Are You? This is one of the longest books on my... Well, it's currently one of the longest standing books on my TBR, but I haven't had it on my physical TBR for that long because I was doing quite well at reading the books. But I just think that as we do move into spring, a lot of like these emotional reads are going to be what I gravitate towards. So this one is Alice, a novelist, meets Felix, who works in a warehouse, and asks him if he would like to travel to Rome with her. In Dublin, her best friend Eileen is getting over a breakup and slips back into flirting with Simon, a man she has known since childhood. Alice, Felix, Eileen and Simon are still young, but life is catching up with them. They desire each other, they delude each other, they worry about sex and friendships and the times they live in. Will they find a way to believe in a beautiful world? I just think I love Sally Rooney's writing style, and I just think that, as I said, like these kind of reads are going to be what like powers me through into summer, because it's not too summery and summer romance reads, and it's not necessarily like holiday reads, but they're good transitional books as the season changes. This is also a book that hasn't been released yet, and that is Our Perfect Storm by Carly Fortune. I read... What one did I read? I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune last year, and ever since then I've just completely fallen in love with her stories and her settings. They just feel so real and believable, and it's been announced now that it is coming out as an Amazon show, I think, maybe. But when reading it, I was like, I can see this as like the show that everyone is watching and being like, oh my god. So then we have our new release from her, which comes out on the 7th of May. And it says, best friends, 7 days in paradise, one last chance to fall in love or fall apart. Frankie and George have been best friends since they were 8. They've always clashed and come back together. It's what they do. Until now. On the eve of her wedding, Frankie doesn't know where they stand, or even if George will show up as her best man. As she loses hope, in walks George. For one glorious evening, Frankie's life is finally perfect. But it all comes crashing down when her fiancé dumps her the next morning, leaving only a note behind. Crushed and confused, Frankie only wants to wallow, but George has a different idea. He wants her to go on her honeymoon with him for 1 week to the lush rainforests and misty beaches of Tofino. Frankie agrees, seeing the trip for what it really is. One last chance to repair their friendship, even if it means unearthing secrets and long-buried feelings neither knows how to handle, even if it means falling apart for good. So sad, what the hell? Yeah, I'm excited for that one. That one's gonna make me cry. Which most normal people would be like, keep that away from me. But sometimes I just really enjoy the feeling of knowing that a book is gonna give me like a good cathartic cry. And it's like, let me just channel all of my emotions into this book and then cry because of the book, not because of anything else. You know, I feel like we can relate on that. I feel like most book people can relate on that feeling. Yeah, they are the 10 books I'm hoping to get read this spring. They're all top priority reads for me. I don't really do monthly TBRs, but I do like to have my next steps planned out, and these are definitely my next steps book-wise. So yeah, let me know if you've read any of these, which ones were your favourites. Let me know what's on your spring TBR. And if you've made it this far into the video, don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe if you want to see some more. And hopefully then I will see you in my next video. Thanks for watching, guys.